Good morning. We seem to have a large amount of latency today, so there might be a bit of a lag between when I'm replying to your comments. I don't know. YouTube's a bit weird sometimes. I might try the ultra low latency method or mode next time. We'll see how we go. One quick thing before I get into this week's update is that Australia just went through daylight savings, so now we've been pushed back, or we've lost an hour. So this will hopefully be at a slightly better time for my Northern Hemisphere viewers, hopefully, I think. We'll see. I guess it's more, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, cool. This week was a very, very good week. I have got a lot done, and I'm very, very happy with how things are going. And yeah, I'm keen to show you. So, yes, it's time to upgrade Jugglebot's brain. And let me... Yeah, first thing though, before I go on to the brain updates, is that I have a very exciting, for me at least, update on my Linux setup. And I love this. This is amazing. So God, I need to get used to my numbers again. I've been doing all of the Jugglebot development in Linux, and one thing that has really been irking me is that I like my windows to be set up in a particular way. So this is like my ideal format right here, for now at least. I might change to something later, but we'll see. So this main window, like the top one, I run my the main ROS node, and then I've sent all different commands in the tabs in these windows. Down here I have my colcon build, and if I'm doing VNC, then I'll have my VNC window. But it's really annoying to set this up every single time I set up my computer, and all of these windows would share the same history. So if I wanted to go back and if I just freshly booted up the computer and I wanted to run the ROS network again, I would open up my top window up the top, and I would go back through the history, and it would have to sort through all the history of all the other windows that are kind of cluttering everything up. But now it's like, oh no, wait, what is running? Oh, all right, I'll leave this one open then. I'll just minimize it. I can close this one. What is that running? Oh, okay, that can close. All right, yeah, I can close everything, and then I can just double click my shortcut over here, and it opens everything back. And they all have the same memory of what that last window had, what I last ran in that specific window. It's so convenient. I am such a massive fan of this. This is a huge time saver. Yeah, it is great. And this would not have been possible if it weren't for Joe's help. And Joe is someone who I haven't mentioned too much on the channel so far in the streams, but he's been kind of in the background helping me a lot with the Linux and coding sort of stuff. And yeah, I'm very thankful, Joe. I love this. It's great. Yeah. Cool. All right. Also, I've updated the GitHub a little bit. Quite a lot, actually. So if anyone had been on the GitHub previously and was like, what the heck is going on here? This is super messy. It's a little bit cleaner now. I think it's a fair bit nicer. So now the main branch is the branch that I'm actually doing the development in, which is, I guess, nice. I've kept the old code in a separate branch. I think I called it ROS2 first approach or something like that. But the main branch is the one where all the good stuff is, all the current stuff. So if you want to check anything out, there's a link in the description, and yeah, you can, I don't know, see it all in there. I'm also going through, and as part of my improvement on Jugglebot's brain, I am working to really make my code a lot cleaner, a lot more robust, a lot better, a lot more professional. So part of that is that all of the code that I've written so far actually has doc strings. Maybe not all of it, most of it. Most of it has doc strings, which I am learning is a very helpful thing to include, because it means that when you're writing other code later that makes use of that code, you can actually see what each method does in a little bit more detail than just trying to infer based on the name. Of course, this is old news for everyone who actually programs, but for me, it's new and it's very good. Of course, ChatGPT is actually writing all of these, but I'm still including them, I suppose. And also type hints on most of my methods, which is good. So professional. But one thing that I'm noticing is that unit testing is tricky. And unit testing is something that I've heard a lot about, and it seems like it's what you're really kind of supposed to do to make sure that your code can handle all of the different uncertain situations that you might throw at it. And Jugglebot is likely going to find itself in a lot of fairly uncertain, unpredictable situations. And so having these unit tests in place where I can make sure that all of my code is doing what I expect it to do before I run the code, like before I run on Jugglebot, would be very nice. But I'm having a hard time with it. So I have only written 3 like modules. I think the technical, like the proper word is for them, like 3 like Python files. One of them is interacting with the CAN bus. Another one is running the ROS node that handles that CAN bus interaction. And the third one is a state machine, which I'll talk about in a sec. So I want to run unit tests on just like I figured I would start off at like the bottom and start with just the CAN bus interface module. And I don't know, ChatGPT made a really nice seeming unit test script, and it looks really good, but it just keeps throwing errors, and it doesn't. I think that it's getting a bit stuck because because it's trying to emulate a CAN bus interaction, that there are a couple spots where it just hangs and it just waits for an actual CAN bus, and it's not like emulating it properly. So yeah, I don't know if anyone's got experience with unit testing CAN buses specifically, or just like hardware in general, I suppose. I would appreciate if you had any advice for setting this sort of stuff up. Yeah. I spent a little bit of time trying to get that unit test working, and then I just figured like, no, the robot will just be the test, which is obviously not really what I want to be doing, but it works, and I kind of got a bit fed up with the unit testing by the end, to be honest. So yeah, all of that code as well is obviously in GitHub. The unit testing code, I don't know if it's supposed to be in like a separate area, but I've got it all in the same folder in like the ROS, Jugglebot, so on. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So now for the big exciting update. Jugglebot meets YASMIN, which stands for Yet Another State Machine. I think they were a bit, I don't know, the names. Yeah, they definitely had creative liberties in adding the IN to that. I think it should be YASM, but whatever. Again, the link for this is in the description. And what this is a ROS2 native state machine. So this can handle all of the states of the robot in a really fairly easy to control and handle way. The reason why I want to use a state machine here is so that we can have one central node that is responsible for like monitoring where the robot is in its whole setup and making sure that it like does the right things before moving on to other steps. So for example, we need to make sure that the robot has been homed before we can start moving it, because otherwise the actuators have no idea where they are. And yeah, previously I was just doing this. It was very distributed and it was very messy, to be honest. And there were many instances where I could have run things in the wrong order and they would have run, and I just needed to make sure that I, as the human operator, I just needed to make sure that I didn't do that in the wrong order, which is obviously not ideal. But now, hopefully, the intention of using the state machine is that this will monitor all of that in the state machine. So I can sit back, really carefully think it through just like once, and then once it's written, it will never be able to do the wrong thing, in theory. So YASMIN includes a monitor state, which just monitors topics and will like listen for specific information over the topics before deciding what to do next. A service state will send out a service, and then I think it waits for a return. I actually don't remember exactly how the service state works. I haven't used that one yet. An action state, which runs an action, and then once the feedback from the action comes back, it will then decide what to do. This frustrated me so much. So if anyone's been following my ROS endeavors closely, you may remember that I did not know what an action was for a long time. I eventually figured it out and set one up for auto leveling the platform so that it would go up, take an angle measurement, and then fix itself up so it was straight. That was a whole effort, but eventually I figured it out. And I have since realized that my homing routine should also probably be an action as well, because that is something where I have to send the command out, wait for it to be done. I could send feedback during that process, but I don't right now, and I can talk about that in a sec if I remember. But yeah, I basically send the command out, wait for it to finish, and then I'm just sitting around waiting, and then once the thing is done, it will send a, yep, cool, we're finished, and then we can move on to other things. And that's exactly what an action is for. And so I have finally set up the homing routine to be an action, but I spent so long scratching my head about this format. I did not go back and check the docs, but my intuition is when writing the action, like, so when you use an action, you can make like a custom message where you can have a custom request, and that can be, you have to send an integer to it, and then that will tell it what action it needs to do, or whatever you're doing. You send some request if you want to. None of mine have requests so far. You get some result back when the thing is finished, and you can also, if you want to, get feedback. All of these are optional as well. You can have them just be nothing if you want. I wanted to have a result from my homing sequence. That way, if something went wrong, the result coming back would say, hey, something went wrong. Like this did not work properly. And that way the state machine can say, oh, okay, something's gone wrong. I'm not going to continue, like I'm not going to advance to the next step. But I didn't check the documentation for this, and I thought it went request, feedback, result, because that's the order that it comes through in. Like you send out the request, or you receive the request, then you send out some feedback, and then you send out the result. I spent like over an hour trying to figure out why my code was not working and why I was getting the error saying like result success, because I called it a success, and it was like a true or false if it worked or not. It was like result success is not in the action or something like that. And I'm like, what? It is there. Like I can see it. It's in the code. I spent so long trying to figure out what the problem was, and it turns out I just had the order of those two wrong. I don't know why it's in this order. This is not the intuitive order, for me at least. All right, cool. So now I want to show you what the state machine is and what it does. It's very cool. It's only very little right now. It's just a little baby state machine, but it's pretty nice. It works very well. So let's go over to VNC. I'm trying to think the best. I'll show you this a couple times, I think, to really show it properly. So turning Jugglebot on. Actually, let's watch it the first time from Jugglebot's view and see what it does. So I now just need to run only the launch, and that's all I need to do, and it will go. Sometimes it hangs here for a bit. I'll show you what it's actually doing in a sec, why it's hanging. But the thing is, I don't know how long it hangs for. So like I could show you now, but I don't know how long it's going to... All right, I'll show you now. So we can see, I have it set up now so that it waits for heartbeats. Actually, I'll put you back in Jugglebot and then I'll explain it. Okay, there we go. Now it just worked. So what it does at the start is it waits for all 7 heartbeats from all of the motors. And then once all of them have come through, it says, yep, cool, I'm receiving information from all of the O drives, so we're good to continue. As soon as they're all set up, it will run through the encoder search sequence where it will run all of the actuators just a little bit until the index pulse is found on all of the actuators, or on all of the encoders. And then once that's done, it says, yep, cool, all of the motors are ready to run. And then straight away, it will home all of the motors. And it does it really quickly after that first step where it hangs for a second. And I don't know why that happens. So there's a couple different views on this. So let's look at the state machine side of things first. I really like this graph. So I'll start the network again. So I'll close Jugglebot down. State machine disappears. And I'll boot it up again. So right now we are in standby. And we're waiting for all of the heartbeats to come through. I can see right now we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're just waiting on 6 for some reason. 6 has come through, so now we can proceed to the encoder search. Once that's finished, we go to homing. Once that's finished, we go to idle. And it just it keeps track of everything. And I have set up in the code, it's like where these things can move to and what is required for them to move to each separate spot. And you can see it obviously goes through these steps very quickly. I'll do it one more time and then I'll show you the terminal output. And it's annoying that every time I close it, it disappears and I have to oh, that was so quick that time. Straight through. Yeah. So I need to build this out a lot more to include a lot of other things, but so far it seems good. Let me show you the terminal output. So hopefully this is visible. So I'll close it down again, wait for it to close, and boot it up again. And we can see here, we're waiting. So we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, we're waiting for 6, and then it's found them all. So then we move from... So it's got all of the images in here, all of the transitions in here. So we're in standby, we're waiting for more of the messages to come through, more of the heartbeats. Still, once we've confirmed all of them, we go to the encoder search. Once the encoder search has succeeded, we go to homing. And then we've got all the homing messages. The reason, so I'm not currently sending feedback back from the homing action back to the state machine as far as like, because I could be sending feedback of like motor 0 is homed, motor 1 is homed, motor 2 is homed. I could do that, but it's a little bit annoying because the thing that's running the homing is the CAN bus like class, and that's inside the ROS, like the CAN bus handler node or the CAN interface handler node, and getting the message from the class out through the ROS node and then to the state machine. I don't know, it seems a bit tricky, but right now I just have it as like ROS and messages coming straight from that CAN class, and that seems to be working. So, oh my god, sorry, a bit flashy. And then, yeah, so I'm getting all this feedback anyway, so as far as I'm concerned, it's fine. And then once the homing is done, homing succeeded, we move over to idle. And now, currently it's just sitting, waiting in idle. But unfortunately, as we can see from the state diagram, there is nowhere for it to go from idle. So it's stuck here, it's just waiting. Although, it can go to leveling platform, but I actually don't think I have anything in there to make it do that. No, I don't. Oh no, I can send a command, but I don't want to touch that yet. I haven't tried that out yet. So my thinking for this as like the next steps is I want to make some, I need to get the leveling platform working, and then I want to have a couple different control modes that I can kind of like move between to test out the state machine in a way where I can kind of more, hey Luke, good to see you. I want to get it into a place where I can command it to go to different states, because right now it's just going from one to the next to the next to the next really quickly, and I don't really have much control over like what it's doing. And yeah, so I want to build somewhere I can go between like a space mouse control and then to the GUI control, and then I don't know, I'll just do something else. Maybe I'll do like a gyroscope or something where I can control it with that. But just like a couple things where like I can, or an IMU rather, where I can move between the states. And a big reason why I want to do this is because, well, related to this, I suppose, is I want to make sure that the error handling in the system is better than, well, is fully robust. Like, I actually haven't tried this yet, but let's see what happens if I hit the E-stop. So it's currently still running. Yeah, no, I need a link between idle and fault. So I can see that there's lots of active errors here. I'm getting tons of active errors, so it's recognizing, like the CAN bus thing is recognizing, ooh, there's no voltage coming through to any of my motor drivers. But I don't have that link. Oh my god, sorry. Oh, it's closed. But I don't have that link in the state machine, which I need. So there's definitely more work to be done, but it's coming along. And yeah, I really like the way that this gives a lot more structure to the the flow of the robot, so that it will have a much clearer idea of what it's done so far and where it's going. There is one thing that I am curious about, which is that there are a couple pieces of information that don't always need to be done, but they do need to be done before certain other things can happen. So for example, homing is critical. That has to be done first. So I'm going to keep the same routine right now where it just automatically homes every single time. But the auto leveling the platform doesn't really need to be done for some things. Like if I'm just doing space mouse control and I'm just kind of moving the thing around, I don't need it to be completely level. So I don't need to run the auto leveling sequence. So yeah, I'm not really sure how to handle that. Like there's a system in YASMIN called a blackboard where you can store information about like what's happened, and yeah, it's just like a memory of what has happened in the state machine. And I'm thinking like, if I can transmit that blackboard information out to the rest of the ROS network, then that ROS, any particular ROS node can say, hey, I'm being commanded to do XYZ thing. Have all of my requirements been met so far? Yes or no? And then continue or not. But that feels a bit like it's putting it's kind of distributing the decision making out a lot more, which is getting a lot more similar to what I had before. So I don't really know what the best way to do this is. Like obviously, my understanding is that having everything in the state machine is what you're supposed to do, but I don't really know how to fit things that only matter sometimes, if that makes sense. I don't know. If anyone's got any thoughts, I'm all ears. But yeah, it's coming along. It's definitely, it takes a while to rewrite code and to do it nicely, but it's getting there. I'm trying my best to not just like copy paste what I already had from before, but at the same time, I don't want to like work completely from scratch because a lot of these scripts have taken quite a long time to make and they work for all intents and purposes. So I'm trying to like copy them, but then improve them and update them. And yeah, this has been taking a little while, but that's part of the process. And yeah, that's what I got to do. Yeah. All right. So there's a couple other small updates on the motion capture system. I'm still waiting on a quote from one of the companies. I have high hopes. I think it's going to be good. When is the cat attachment coming? I don't think the cats like the robot very much. I don't know. Their opinions on it tend to move between just complete indifference and they just like they pretend like they seem like they don't even notice it at all to kind of wanting to stay away from it. So I don't think we're going to have any cat attachments anytime soon. Yeah, so I'm waiting on a quote for the Mocap system. I have high hopes. I think it's going to happen and it's going to be amazing. I also have a small update on the connectors. So some people may remember from my last video that I want to change the connector that attaches the CAN bus, like the whole, it's like the spinal cord of Jugglebot into its body. And I need to fix that because right now I can pull it out with like a pinky and my thumb. It's like no effort whatsoever to pull it out. And people that gave a lot of suggestions on that video of different types of connectors, and I have bought a whole bunch of them. And I'm keen to try them out. Like this one is like so beefy. This feels like military grade. It's the amphenol something or other. It's huge compared to like this little tiny one, which is like nothing. But it turns out buying connectors is very tricky and very tedious. And I somehow accidentally bought these two, which are supposed to be the male and female. And you can see like one is male and one is female, but they both have the same outer shell. So they don't connect. It's like, what's with that? So I can't use them. But yeah, I've got a couple other connectors. There's one main one. I'm just waiting on the Deutsch connectors to come now. And then I should be able to give them a test and yeah, compare them all and see which one fits my situation the best. And yeah, I'm keen to update you on the results of that. I really don't like how it is now, but I don't want to change it to something before I've tried all of the different options. I'm just kind of being very delicate with it all right now. Yeah, cool. Quick update, not too much. I think code is hard to, I don't know, it takes time. And yeah, it's very easy to summarize what like a week of coding is in not much time. But hopefully you can all agree that we're taking very good steps forward. And yeah, I'm very, very, very keen to see where this goes. My only hope is that the code is fully at least up to where it was before, if not further, by the time motion capture comes in. Because once the motion capture comes in, there's going to be so many things to do. Like, yeah. And I would love to just have like a solid foundation of a code base that I can build on top of with all the motion capture stuff. That would be ideal. And I don't think that's going to happen for a couple of weeks. So I've got time. So we're good. Cool. All right. What mocap am I using? Unsure yet. I am still debating between the two cameras that I shared in the last stream. There's a Qualisys one and an OptiTrack one. Yeah, it depends. So I've got a quote for the OptiTrack one, which is feasible, and then I'm waiting on the Qualisys quote, which I'm more keen on the Qualisys one. Like just the usability seems nicer. Like I can just plug a single Ethernet cable into the first one and then daisy chain them rather than having individual Ethernet cables going out to all of them. It's just the little things, you know? And yeah, there's obviously a bunch of more things, but whatever one I end up getting, I will be sure to give a proper full update on what the system is, how it works, how I'm using it, all that sort of stuff. It's going to be very cool. Cool. Yep. As always, hope you found that interesting. Good luck with everything that you're doing, and I will see you all next week. Till then, have a good one.